despite the escalating tensions, they remain focused on addressing the issue through diplomatic channels. Separately, Pakistan military spokesperson says 274 Taliban regime officials and terrorists have been killed since Thursday night. Pakistan military spokesperson further stated that at least 12 Pakistani soldiers killed and they have been hit military targets in 22 locations in airstrikes in Afghanistan. This comes after the Afghan Taliban launched drone attacks against Pakistani targets. However, Pakistan's anti-drone systems reportedly brought down all the drones, with no damage to life reported, said Pakistan's information minister. The strikes come after a night of shelling near the Torkham border, which saw multiple civilian injuries, including 7 wounded at a refugee camp. Several feared death on both sides. We are now being joined by Major General Sadakaji, who's a geopolitical and strategic defence expert joining us from Jaipur. Thank you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World for this breaking news. We're seeing more and more developments come out, and now Afghanistan has said that they want to talk. They don't want to keep fighting now. They want to talk through this. What do you take by this, and how do you think Pakistan, are they going to want to also hold talks, or do you think they won't stop?
Good evening, Ali. Thank you for getting me for your show. Well, if that is the latest development wherein Afghanistan Taliban has expressed its intent to go in for a dialogue, well, it's a welcome development. But the fact remains that the aggressor is Pakistan. Pakistan is the one which has got Air Force. The Air Force has been going across the international border or the Durand line and violating the airspace of the sovereign airspace, I would say, of Afghanistan. That's a very serious violation. And more than that, they have declared an open war, and they're going around blatantly hitting the depth areas which are inhabited by civilian population, Kandahar, Kabul, and such like places beyond the border of Durand line. So under these conditions, if Taliban is still holding out restraint, it's a welcome development, because they are the victim. If they show patience and resort to diplomacy and dialogue, it couldn't be anything better. And but having said that, Pakistan arbitrarily has to be held, Pakistan has to be held accountable for violating the airspace without any evidence. They can't do it. The peace has been actually carrying on since October last year, ever since the ceasefire came into effect. But intermittently there has been violation of the ceasefire by both the sides. The trigger has been given by the Pakistan, and they further have been retaliated by Afghanistan Taliban. So under these circumstances, the only way to bring in peace and normalcy is that one side has to exercise restraint, and if Taliban is doing good, so let's see how far it goes ahead. Back to you, Ali.
Thank you, Major General Sadakaji, but please don't go anywhere, as I will be joining back with you very shortly. Fresh border clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan have sparked strong reactions across Pakistan. Many Pakistanis are calling for diplomacy to resolve the conflict. However, Islamabad's minister have declared an open war after airstrikes targeted Afghan military positions in Kabul and Kandahar. The air raids followed Afghan forces' retaliatory attacks, leaving both sides with heavy casualties. Pakistan claims 133 Taliban fighters were killed, while Afghanistan reports that the death of 55 Pakistani soldiers. UN officials are urging both sides to de-escalate, calling for civilian protection. Let's listen in to what a few of the residents of Pakistan had to say.
जंग किसी भी मामले का हल नहीं है और इसको सफारतकारी के ज़रिए हमें हल करना चाहिए। अफ़गानिस्तान हमारा मुसलमान मुल्क है और हम कभी भी नहीं चाहेंगे उससे जंग हमारी हो, लेकिन अफ़गानिस्तान को भी इस बात का सोचना चाहिए कि अपनी वो बाउंड्रीज़ क्रॉस ना करे और एक लिमिट में रहे, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान कभी भी अपनी जो सॉवरेनिटी है उस पर सौदेबाजी कभी नहीं कर सकता।
अफगानिस्तान पे हम अटैक ना करें। जब हमारे वो आकर दुश्मनों को बातों पे क्या करते हैं, हमारे पे हमले किए हैं, उन्होंने हमारी पाक फौज की चौकियों पे किए हैं, हमारे नौजवान शहीद किए। हमने बार बार उनको ये एक ही दफ़ा मैसेज दिया था, भाई आप हमारे साथ नहीं करें, हमारे मुल्क के लिए नहीं करें। और रात को जैसे पाकिस्तान ने जवाब दिया और मेरे ख्याल से बहुत अच्छा।
We are now being rejoined by Major General Sadakaji. Thank you so much for joining us back here on NewsX World. Given the sharply differing casualty claims from both sides, how should viewers and people around the world interpret the information, what is coming out from both sides and often accompanies military escalation?
Well, Pakistan is known for inflating the figures of its adversary, that is Taliban Afghanistan. And always and every time, whether it is India or any other faction or militant group which in the Balochi Liberation Army, always and every time, the DGISPR functional parameters are basically to inflate such kind of data and show a kind of inflated higher figures, bigger figures of casualties in respect of its adversary. And so this is no exception. If they say 100, you take it that 1/10 of the people would have been killed. And I much against all principles, I tend to believe what the Taliban, because these people, though we call them a terrorist, they are governed and driven by some degree of discipline and principle. And I tend to agree with their figure. They do not resort to any kind of inflated reporting. This is one part. Second part is a greater issue is that the Pakistan has to be subjected to adequate pressure in times ahead, because it is they who have actually created Taliban, and Taliban has been created at a central seminary in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa seminaries, they have trained this Taliban, and they are the ones who were beating chest couple of years back, 2-3 years back or 4 years back, and sending the Taliban across the border into Afghanistan, saying that the strategic depth would be enhanced. And the Tehrik Taliban Pakistan is also a creation of Pakistan. So if you take your mind back to 2013, if I respect my memory, Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, once he made a beautiful statement that if you nurture the snake in your backyard, don't ever think that they will continue to bite the neighbor only. They will turn around, they will start biting. So that phase of Pakistan had started. Back to you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Major General Sadakaji, for joining us here today on NewsX World. It's a pleasure speaking with you as always.